I used to think I had it all figured out. 7 years of marriage to Sarah, a beautiful house in the suburbs of Denver, stable jobs, weekend trips to the mountains. Life felt secure, predictable, safe. But sometimes the safest things are just illusions waiting to shatter. It started with small changes I told myself not to worry about. Then came the night I found her phone on the kitchen counter screen, glowing with a message that turned my world upside down. What I discovered that night set me on a path I never imagined I would take. A path that would lead to one explosive dinner party Sarah would never forget. Before we dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you are finding this story compelling so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story. Trust me, what comes next will show you exactly why silence is sometimes the most dangerous weapon of all. Now let me take you back to where everything began. My name is Alfred, and at 32 years old, I thought I had life under control. I work as a software engineer for a tech company here in Denver, pulling in a decent salary that kept us comfortable. Sarah, my wife, worked as a marketing manager at a mid-sized advertising firm downtown. We met in college, dated for 3 years, before I proposed on a beach in California during sunset. Cliche, I know, but it felt right at the time. We bought our house 5 years ago, a 3-bedroom ranch-style place with a decent backyard and a 2-car garage. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. We talked about kids someday, maybe in a year or two, once Sarah got her promotion. We took a trip to Yellowstone National Park last summer, hiked the trails, took pictures. By Old Faithful, talked about buying a bigger house closer to the mountains. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. Looking back now, I realize I was living in a comfortable fog. I trusted Sarah completely. Never questioned where she went or who she talked to. Why would I? She was my wife, my partner, the person I chose to build a life with. That trust made me blind to what was happening right in front of me. The changes started about 3 months before I found out. Subtle at first. Sarah began staying late at work more frequently. She would text me around 6 in the evening, saying she had to finish up a presentation or meet with a client. I would heat up leftovers and eat alone, watching whatever game was on television. When she came home around 9 or 10 at night, she seemed energized rather than tired. I should have noticed that. She also started paying more attention to her appearance. New clothes appeared in her closet, designer brands I knew we could not really afford. She changed her hairstyle, went from shoulder-length brown hair to a shorter, more sophisticated cut with blonde highlights. She joined a gym, started going before work. Her phone became an extension of her hand, constantly buzzing with notifications. Whenever I walked into a room, she would flip it face down on whatever surface it was resting on. I asked about it once. "Work stuff," she said with a quick smile. "Brandon, my boss, is really pushing hard on this new client campaign. Lots of coordination." Brandon. That name came up more and more. Brandon wanted this. Brandon suggested that Brandon took the team out for drinks after landing a big account. I felt a twinge of something, jealousy maybe, but I pushed it down. Sarah was ambitious. Her career mattered to her. I respected that. Then came the night everything changed. It was a Friday in late September. I had been working overtime on a major software deployment that was supposed to take until midnight. But our team finished early, wrapped everything up by 7 in the evening. I texted Sarah to let her know I was heading home. No response. That was not unusual when she was in meetings. I stopped and picked up Thai food from our favorite place on the way home, thinking we could have a nice, quiet evening together. When I walked through the door, the house was empty. Sarah had left that morning in a hurry, complaining about being late for an early meeting. I set the food on the kitchen counter, and that is when I saw it. Her phone. Just lying there on the white granite countertop screen, dark. Sarah never forgot her phone. Never. My stomach tightened. I told myself not to look, not to be that person who snoops through their partner's private messages. But then, The screen lit up with a notification. A text message from someone saved as B in her contacts. Cannot wait to see you tonight. Same hotel. My hands started shaking. I picked up the phone, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I knew her passcode. She had given it to me years ago, back when trust was not even a question between us. My fingers moved on their own, unlocking the screen. What I found made me physically ill. Hundreds of messages between Sarah and this B person. I scrolled up, reading exchanges that went back months. Intimate messages. Plans to meet at the Hilton downtown. Photos they had sent each other. Messages where Sarah complained about me, called me boring, said I just worked and played video games. This Brandon person promising her excitement adventure, telling her she deserved better. There were details about their encounters. Descriptions of hotel rooms. Plans for a trip to Mexico next month. Brandon telling Sarah he would leave his wife for her. Wait. His wife. I scrolled further. Found messages where Sarah acknowledged that Brandon was married, had 2 kids, but said what they had was real and worth the risk. I sat down at the kitchen table, still holding her phone, reading through months of betrayal. They had been meeting twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Always the same hotel. Sometimes they would grab dinner first, at an expensive steakhouse downtown, that Sarah and I had never been to because we thought it was too pricey. All those late nights at work. All those client meetings. All lies. The front door opened around 11 that night. Sarah walked in smiling, carrying her laptop bag. "Hey, babe," she said cheerfully. "Sorry I'm so late. That client dinner ran forever. I am exhausted." She walked past me toward the bedroom, pulling off her earrings as she went. I sat there with her phone still in my hand. Every instinct screamed at me to confront her right then, to throw the evidence in her face and demand answers. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the sudden realization that if I confronted her now, she would make excuses, probably lie more, maybe even turn things around on me for looking at her phone. So I did something I never thought I would do. I stayed silent. Put her phone back on the counter exactly where I found it. When she came out of the bedroom in her pajamas and asked if I wanted to watch a movie, I said I was too tired and went to bed. She kissed me goodnight, like nothing was wrong, like she had not just spent the evening with another man. I lay awake that entire night, staring at the ceiling, feeling like my entire life had been a lie. The next morning, I woke up with a plan forming in my mind. I was not going to confront Sarah. Not yet. I needed evidence, real evidence that could not be denied or explained away. I needed to understand the full scope of what was happening before I made any moves. On Monday morning, I called in sick to work. As soon as Sarah left for her job, I started searching online for private investigators in the Denver area. I found one with good reviews, a guy named Marcus Rodriguez, who specialized in infidelity cases. I called him from my car in a parking lot 3 miles from my house, paranoid that somehow Sarah might overhear, even though she was at work. Marcus was professional, not judgmental. He quoted me $1,500 for 2 weeks of surveillance, including photos and a detailed report. I agreed immediately, gave him all the information I had. Sarah's work address, her car description, and license plate, the name of the hotel, where I suspected she was meeting Brandon, and Brandon's full name, which I had found by searching through her work email on her laptop while she showered. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. During the day, I went to work, coded, attended meetings, acted like everything was normal. At home, I was the same husband I had always been. Asked Sarah about her day, made dinner, watched television. But inside, I was documenting everything. I started taking screenshots of her text messages when she left her phone unattended. I found receipts in her purse for expensive restaurants and boutique shops. I discovered charges on our shared credit card for clothing, perfume, gifts that I never saw her bring home. She must have been buying presents for Brandon. Marcus called me 8 days into the surveillance. "I have got what you need," he said. We met at a coffee shop in a different part of town. He handed me a manila folder, stuffed with photographs. There was Sarah, walking hand in hand with a tall man in an expensive suit outside the Hilton. Sarah and Brandon kissing in a parking garage. The two of them having lunch at an outdoor cafe, leaning close across the table. Photos of them entering the hotel at 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. More photos of them leaving 3 hours later. Marcus also gave me printouts of Brandon's information. Brandon Mitchell, 41 years old, senior vice president at Sarah's company. Married for 16 years to a woman named Patricia. 2 sons, ages 12 and 9. Brandon lived in a large house in Cherry Creek, drove a BMW, belonged to an exclusive country club. Your wife is not his first affair, Marcus told me quietly. I did some digging. He has a reputation. Word is, his wife has suspected for years, but stays for the kids and the lifestyle. I paid Marcus his fee in cash and drove home with the folder sitting on my passenger seat like a bomb. That night, while Sarah was in the shower, I made copies of everything. Put the originals in a safety deposit box at my bank. Kept copies hidden in my car. Over the following week, I kept gathering evidence. I used software to back up all of Sarah's text messages to a cloud account she did not know about. I found emails between her and Brandon discussing their planned trip to Cabo San Lucas next month. They had already booked a resort, a suite with an ocean view. Sarah had told me she was going to a marketing conference in Seattle. The Seattle trip. I remembered that. It was 6 weeks ago. She had been gone for 4 days. I checked her credit card statements from that time. No charges in Seattle. But there were charges at a luxury resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. Spa treatments, fine dining, room service. She had not gone to any conference. She had spent a long weekend with Brandon at a resort, while I stayed home working and thinking she was building her career. The pain was constant, a physical ache in my chest that never went away. But alongside the pain grew something else. Anger. Cold, calculated anger. Sarah had made a fool of me. She came home every night and acted like a loving wife while texting another man from our bathroom. She slept in our bed after spending afternoons in hotel rooms. She planned a future with someone else while I was making plans for us. I decided I was not going to let her get away with it quietly. I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer named Daniel Stevens, a well-regarded attorney who specialized in high-conflict divorces. I met him during my lunch break, told him everything, showed him the evidence. Daniel was impressed by how thorough I had been. With this kind of documentation, you will have significant leverage in the divorce proceedings, he said. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity can still impact things like spousal support and division of assets, especially when you can prove financial misconduct. We discussed strategy. Daniel advised that I could file for divorce, serve Sarah the papers, and move forward. But I told him I wanted more than just a legal victory. I wanted Sarah to face the consequences of her choices in every aspect of her life. I wanted her family to know what kind of person she really was. I wanted Brandon's wife to know the truth. I wanted their co-workers to understand what had been happening. Daniel cautioned me about revenge. I understand you are angry, he said. But be careful. Do not do anything that could be used against you later. I assured him I would not do anything illegal or unethical. I just wanted the truth to be known. That is when I came up with the plan. Sarah's family lived about 40 minutes away, in a suburb south of Denver. Her parents, Linda and Robert, were traditional religious people who placed enormous value on family and commitment. Her younger sister, Jessica, looked up to Sarah, always talking about how she wanted a marriage like ours someday. I decided to host a family dinner at our house. I would invite Sarah's parents and her sister. I would prepare a nice meal, set everything up in our dining room. And after dinner, I would plug my laptop into our television and show everyone exactly what Sarah had been doing for the past 5 months. Then, I would hand her the divorce papers in front of her family. Daniel prepared the paperwork. I chose a date, the last Saturday in October, 3 weeks away. I called Sarah's parents and invited them to dinner. Said we had some exciting news to share. Linda was thrilled, probably thought we were going to announce a pregnancy. I felt guilty lying to them, but I told myself they deserved to know the truth about their daughter. I also did one more thing. I drafted an email to the Human Resources Department at Sarah's company detailing the affair between Sarah and Brandon. I included enough information to make it clear this was a violation of company policy regarding relationships between supervisors and subordinates. I did not send it yet. I would wait until after the dinner. Everything was planned. Everything was ready. I felt a grim satisfaction knowing that in 3 weeks, Sarah's carefully constructed double life would come crashing down. What I did not know was that Sarah was about to discover my plan before I could execute it. It happened on a Wednesday night, 3 days before the scheduled dinner. I had been on the phone with Daniel going over last-minute details. Sarah was supposed to be out with Brandon, another one of their late work nights. But Brandon had texted her earlier that evening canceling, because he had to attend a school function for one of his sons. I was in my home office with the door closed, talking to Daniel on my cell phone. "So we are confirmed for Saturday," I said. "You will have the final divorce documents ready by Friday." "Everything will be prepared," Daniel confirmed. "And you have got the evidence loaded on your laptop, ready to present." "Yes," I said. "Photos, text messages, credit card statements, everything." I am going to start with the timeline, show them how long this has been going on, then the evidence. Then I am handing her the divorce papers right there at the table. "What about Brandon's wife?" Daniel asked. "You still planning to inform her?" "After the dinner. I will call her Sunday morning. And I am sending the email to their company's HR department Monday morning, so it is waiting when they get to work." "All right," Daniel said. "Just remember, stay calm during the dinner. Do not let anyone provoke you into saying or doing something you will regret. Let the evidence speak for itself." "I want everyone to see what she really is," I said. "Her family needs to know. They have always thought she was perfect, their golden child who could do no wrong. They need to see the truth." I talked with Daniel for another 10 minutes, going over a few more logistics, then ended the call. When I opened the office door and walked into the hallway, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Sarah was standing there in the living room, still in her work clothes, her face completely white. "Sarah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I thought you were working late." She just stared at me. Her hands were shaking. "How long were you standing there?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer from the look on her face. "Long enough," she whispered. Then louder, "Long enough to hear everything, Alfred. You are planning to destroy me." My heart was pounding, but I kept my expression neutral. "I do not know what you are talking about." "Do not lie to me." Her voice cracked. "I heard you on the phone. The dinner, the evidence. You know about Brandon." There was no point in pretending anymore. "Yes," I said calmly. "I know everything. I have known for weeks." The color drained even further from her face. She sank down onto the couch, like her legs could not hold her anymore. "Oh God," she muttered. "Oh God, oh God." I stood there watching her, feeling oddly detached. This was not how I had envisioned this conversation happening, but here we were. "How long have you known?" she finally asked. "Does it matter?" "Please." She looked up at me with tears starting to stream down her face. "Alfred, please. We need to talk about this." "Now you want to talk?" I could not keep the bitterness out of my voice. "Where was this urge to communicate when you were sleeping with your boss for 5 months?" She flinched, like I had slapped her. "I am sorry," she sobbed. "I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. Every single day for 5 months you hurt me. You lied to me. You made me look like a fool." Sarah buried her face in her hands, crying harder. Part of me, some buried instinct, wanted to comfort her. 7 years of marriage do not disappear instantly. But then, I remembered the text messages, the photos, the lies, and that instinct died. When she finally looked up at me again, her expression had changed. The tears were still there, but now there was panic in her eyes. "Alfred, please. I am begging you. Do not do this. Do not tell my family. Do not send anything to HR. Why should I protect you? Because it will destroy everything." She stood up, walked toward me with her hands clasped like she was praying. "My parents will never forgive me. My career will be over. Brandon's wife will come after me. Please, Alfred. I will do anything. We can get counseling. I will end things with Brandon immediately. We can work through this." I stared at her in disbelief. "You think I want to work through this? You think I want to stay married to someone who betrayed me, lied to me, disrespected me for months? I made a mistake." "It was not a mistake, Sarah. Mistakes are accidents. You made a choice. Hundreds of choices. Every time you texted him. Every time you met him at that hotel. Every time you came home and kissed me while smelling like his cologne. Those were all choices." She was crying so hard now she could barely speak. I know. You are right. But please, we can divorce quietly. We do not have to tell anyone why. We just say we grew apart. I will sign whatever you want. You can have the house, everything. Just please do not humiliate me in front of my family." That is when I realized something that made my anger flare even hotter. She was not sorry for what she did to me. She was sorry she got caught. She was not asking for forgiveness. She was asking me to protect her from the consequences of her own actions. "No," I said firmly. "Alfred, please. You wanted excitement, right? You wanted something more than our boring life together. Well, here it is. Excitement. Consequences. Reality." Her tears stopped suddenly, and her expression hardened. "If you do this, I will tell people you were abusive. That you controlled me, monitored me, made me afraid." I pulled out my phone and held it up. "I am recording this conversation. I have been recording since the moment you started talking. So go ahead. Make that claim. See how it works out for you when I have documentation of everything, including you threatening false accusations." The blood drained from her face again. She had not expected that. "You are recording me in our own home. Colorado is a one-party consent state for recording. I do not need your permission." I had looked that up weeks ago, anticipating something like this might happen. Sarah collapsed back onto the couch. "I cannot believe this is happening." "Neither can I said. "But it is. And it is happening because of choices you made." She tried a different approach, her voice getting quieter, more desperate. "What about Brandon? Are you going to tell Patricia?" "His wife." "Yes. She deserves to know what her husband has been doing. She will take everything from him. His kids will hate him. That is not my problem. Those are consequences he should have thought about before he decided to have an affair with a married subordinate." Sarah started crying again. "This is going to destroy both of our lives." "No," I corrected her. "It is going to destroy your life. Mine is actually about to get a lot better once I am free of you." I turned to walk back into my office, done with this conversation. Sarah called after me. "The dinner is really still happening. You are really going to do this?" I looked back at her. "Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Your parents and Jessica will be here expecting a nice family dinner. Instead, they are going to learn the truth about who you really are. I suggest you prepare whatever explanation you want to give them. Alfred, I am begging you one more time. Please, I will do anything." "Then you should have thought of that before you betrayed me." I went into my office and closed the door, leaving her sobbing in the living room. I sat down at my desk, my hands still shaking from the adrenaline. Part of me felt guilty. But then, I thought about all those nights I ate dinner alone, while she was with Brandon. All those times she kissed me, while lying about where she had been. The trip to Arizona she disguised as a work conference. The upcoming Mexico vacation she was planning with him. No, I was doing the right thing. Sarah had made her choices. Now, she got to live with them. The next morning, Thursday, Sarah tried again. She made breakfast, something she had not done in months. Sat across from me at the kitchen table and tried to have a calm conversation. "Can we please talk about this rationally?" she asked. "There is nothing to talk about. I will go to therapy. I will figure out why I did this. We have 7 years together, Alfred. That has to mean something." It did mean something. Past tense. You destroyed it. She tried crying again. Then she tried anger, accusing me of being cold and unforgiving. Then she tried guilt, saying I was being cruel. Nothing worked. I had made up my mind. Friday afternoon, Daniel called to confirm everything was ready. The divorce documents were prepared. All I had to do was sign them and hand them to Sarah after the dinner. He also reminded me again to stay calm, to let the evidence do the talking, not to let emotions escalate into anything that could be used against me later. That evening, Sarah barely spoke to me. She had been calling Brandon constantly. I could hear her in the other room begging him to help her figure out what to do. From what I could hear of her side of the conversations, Brandon was not interested in getting involved. He kept telling her this was her problem to handle, that he could not risk his own marriage and career. So much for true love. Sarah also tried calling her sister Jessica, probably to warn her, but I had already anticipated that. I had texted Jessica earlier in the week, saying I wanted the dinner to be a surprise for their parents, asked her not to mention it to Sarah. Jessica had agreed, excited about the mysterious surprise. Saturday morning arrived. The day I had been planning for weeks. I went to the grocery store, bought everything I needed to make a nice dinner. Came home and started preparing. Sarah stayed in the bedroom. I could hear her pacing and talking on the phone. Around 4 in the afternoon, she came out. "I am not going to be here," she said. "I cannot sit through this." "Yes, you will," I said calmly, chopping vegetables. "Because if you are not here when your family arrives, I will call them and tell them exactly why you left. At least this way, you have a chance to speak for yourself." She glared at me with pure hatred, but she knew I was right. If she ran, it would make everything worse. At 5:30, I set the dining room table, put out our nice plates, the ones we only used for special occasions, set up my laptop connected to the television in the living room, queued up the folder of evidence, made sure everything was ready to go. At exactly 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Sarah's parents standing there with big smiles on their faces. Linda was holding a bottle of wine, and Robert had a bouquet of flowers. "Alfred!" Linda exclaimed, hugging me. "This is so exciting! What is the big news?" Jessica pulled up right behind them, parking on the street. She bounced up the walkway, looking thrilled. "I have been dying of curiosity all week," she said. "What are we celebrating?" I ushered everyone inside. Sarah came out of the bedroom, her eyes red from crying, but she had put on makeup to try to hide it. She hugged her parents and sister, her hands shaking. "Are you okay, honey?" Linda asked, noticing Sarah's distress. "You look upset." "Just tired from work," Sarah managed to say. "Big project." We all moved into the dining room. I had made roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, fresh rolls. Everything looked perfect. As we sat down, Robert said grace, thanking God for bringing family together. I felt a twinge of guilt, but pushed it aside. Through dinner, Sarah barely touched her food. Linda kept asking her if she was feeling well. Jessica was chattering excitedly about her new job. Robert was telling stories about his week. Normal family conversation. I waited until everyone had finished eating. Then I stood up. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said. "Sarah and I really appreciate you being here." "So, what is the big announcement?" Jessica asked eagerly. "Are you guys finally pregnant?" I took a deep breath. This was it. Actually, I asked you here tonight because I needed to tell you something important. Something you deserve to know. Linda's smile started to fade. What is going on? I picked up my laptop from the side table. Sarah has been having an affair with her boss for the past 5 months. I have been gathering evidence, and I wanted you to see it before I file for divorce. The silence that followed was deafening. Linda's face went white. Robert's mouth dropped open. Jessica looked confused, like she had not processed what I just said. Sarah put her head in her hands. What? Linda finally whispered. No. Alfred, what are you talking about? I turned on the television and pulled up the first photo. Sarah and Brandon holding hands outside the hotel. This was taken 3 weeks ago. The man is Brandon Mitchell. He is Sarah's boss. He is also married with 2 children. Oh my God, Jessica breathed. I clicked through more photos. Sarah and Brandon kissing. Them entering the hotel. Text messages displayed on the screen. Intimate conversations, Sarah calling me boring. Brandon promising to leave his wife. Credit card statements showing expenses for restaurants and shops I had never been to. Linda stood up her chair, scraping loudly against the floor. Sarah, is this true? Sarah was sobbing now, unable to speak. Robert looked like he might be sick. Jessica was crying too, looking between her sister and the television screen in horror. It gets worse, I said, clicking to the next section. The marketing conference in Seattle 6 weeks ago. Sarah was actually at a resort in Arizona with Brandon for 4 days. Here are the hotel charges. Here are photos from the resort's Facebook page that weekend, showing them together. Stop, Sarah finally managed to say. Please stop. Why should I stop? I asked. You did not stop. For 5 months you came home to me every night and pretended everything was fine. You planned a future with him while I was making plans for us. You lied about work trips, about late nights, about everything. Robert found his voice. Sarah, tell me this is not true. Tell me this is some kind of misunderstanding. She looked at her father through tears. Daddy, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake? Robert's voice rose. This was not a mistake. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Linda was crying now too. How could you do this? We raised you better than this. You made vows. Sacred vows before God. Jessica just stared at her sister like she did not know her anymore. You are the reason I wanted to get married someday. I always looked up to you and Alfred. You seemed so happy. We were not happy, Sarah said bitterly, finally finding some strength in her voice. I was lonely. Alfred was always working or playing his stupid video games. Brandon made me feel alive. Do not you dare blame this on me, I said. I worked to support us, to pay for this house, for your car, for everything. And yes, I played games to relax. But I never betrayed you. I never lied to you. I never made you look like a fool in front of the entire world. You are making me look like a fool right now, Sarah screamed. You planned this whole thing to humiliate me. I planned this to tell the truth, I said calmly. You humiliated yourself with your choices. Robert stood up, his face red. Sarah, I am ashamed of you. Truly ashamed. This is not how we raised you. Linda was still crying, holding on to Robert's arm. What about Brandon's wife? His children, did you think about them? She does not care about them, I said. She only cares about herself. That is why right now she is not sorry for what she did. She is only sorry she got caught. Sarah stood up so fast, her chair fell backwards. You do not get to tell them what I am thinking or feeling. Then tell them, I challenged her. Tell them how you feel. Are you sorry for hurting me? Or are you sorry your affair is now public? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Everyone waited. Finally, she whispered, I loved him. The words hung in the air like poison. Linda gasped. Robert looked away. Jessica's face crumpled. You loved him, I repeated. Past tense. Let me guess. He has been ignoring your calls since you found out I knew. He does not want anything to do with you, now that there are real consequences. Because he was never going to leave his wife. You were just something exciting on the side. Sarah's face confirmed I was right. She had believed Brandon's promises, and now she was realizing they were all lies. I reached into my bag and pulled out the divorce documents. These are the divorce papers. I am filing on Monday. You can keep the house if you want, but you will have to buy out my half of the equity. Given your income versus mine, and given that you used our joint credit cards to finance your affair, my lawyer thinks the judge will be very sympathetic to my position. I set the papers on the table in front of her. I am also informing Brandon's wife tomorrow, and I am sending a detailed report to your company's Human Resources Department on Monday morning. Brandon was your supervisor. What the two of you did violated company policy. There will likely be consequences for both of you. Sarah picked up the papers with shaking hands. She looked at her parents, at Jessica, and finally at me. I thought you loved me, she said quietly. I did love you, I replied. But that person does not exist anymore. You destroyed her when you made the choice to betray everything we built together. The woman I loved would never have done what you did. I turned to Linda and Robert. I am sorry I had to tell you this way, but you deserve to know the truth. I am sorry this dinner was not the celebration you were hoping for. Linda came around the table and hugged me. She was crying into my shoulder. We are so sorry, Alfred. So sorry for what she did to you. You deserved better. Robert shook my hand, his eyes wet. You are a good man. You handled this with more grace than I would have. Jessica could not even look at Sarah anymore. She just shook her head and walked out of the room. Sarah stood there alone, holding the divorce papers, tears streaming down her face. Her perfect life, the one she had risked everything for with Brandon, was crumbling around her. Her family knew. Soon, her company would know. Soon, Brandon's wife would know. All the secrets, all the lies exposed in one devastating evening. As her family gathered their things to leave, offering me hugs and apologies, Sarah finally spoke one more time. Was this worth it, Alfred destroying me like this? I looked at her and felt nothing. No love, no hate, just emptiness. I did not destroy you, Sarah. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure people knew the truth. They all left. Sarah went to the bedroom and started packing. I sat alone in the dining room looking at the table that still had our nice plates on it, the remnants of what was supposed to be a family dinner. It was over. Finally, it was over. The aftermath happened quickly. Sarah moved out within 48 hours, went to stay with a friend, because her parents refused to let her come home. The divorce proceedings started immediately. Daniel filed all the necessary paperwork on Monday morning. I also made the other calls I had promised. Sunday morning, I called Patricia, Brandon's wife. She listened in silence as I explained the situation and offered to provide proof. She thanked me quietly and hung up. I later heard through mutual acquaintances that she filed for divorce that same week. The email to Sarah's company went out Monday. By Tuesday afternoon, both Sarah and Brandon had been called into meetings with HR. Brandon was terminated immediately for violation of the company's fraternization policy and for creating a hostile work environment. Sarah was given the option to resign, which she took. Both their professional reputations were destroyed in the industry. Word spread fast in the Denver business community. Sarah tried to contact me several times in the weeks that followed. Texts, apologizing voicemails, crying emails begging me to reconsider. I blocked her number. I changed my locks. I had nothing more to say to her. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. I kept most of my assets, including my retirement accounts. Sarah got the house, but had to refinance to buy out my share of the equity. Given her sudden unemployment, she had to sell it eventually anyway. Her family maintained contact with me for a while. Linda called to check on me. Jessica sent care packages. They were more upset with Sarah than I could have imagined. Apparently, Sarah had always been the golden child, could do no wrong. This shattered their image of her completely. I heard through Jessica that Sarah eventually moved to another state, Colorado, holding too many reminders of her mistakes. Brandon's life fell apart too. His wife took him to the cleaners, in the divorce, got primary custody of their kids. His career in marketing was effectively over in Denver. I heard he moved to Phoenix and took a lower-level job at a much smaller company. I felt no sympathy for him. As for me, I took some time to process everything. Saw a therapist to work through the betrayal and anger. Threw myself into work, got a promotion 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Started exercising regularly, lost 20 pounds, felt healthier than I had in years. 9 months after the divorce, I moved to Portland for a new job opportunity. Fresh start, new city, different scenery. I started hiking, exploring the Pacific Northwest, making new friends through outdoor recreation groups. Took up photography as a hobby. Started living for myself instead of for someone else. Did I regret how I handled things? Sometimes, I wondered if I should have confronted Sarah privately, handled the divorce quietly, like she wanted. But then, I remembered the text messages, the lies, the betrayal. I remembered how she only cared about protecting herself, never once truly apologizing for the pain she caused me. No, I did the right thing. Not because I wanted revenge, but because the truth mattered. Sarah's family deserved to know. Brandon's wife deserved to know. Their company deserved to know. Actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences need to be public to prevent the same behavior from continuing. 3 years later, I am in a better place. I am dating again, taking things slow, not rushing into anything. I have learned to trust again, but more carefully this time. I have learned to pay attention to red flags instead of ignoring them. Most importantly, I have learned that I deserve someone who values me, who respects me, who would never even consider betraying me the way Sarah did. I ran into Jessica a few months ago when I was visiting Denver for work. We had coffee. She told me Sarah is engaged again to some guy she met online. Jessica said Sarah seems different now, more humble, less confident. Whether that means she learned from her mistakes or is just better at hiding them, I do not know, and I do not care. My life moved on. I am happy. I have friends, hobbies, a career I love, and the freedom to build whatever future I want without the weight of someone else's betrayal holding me back. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. Standing up for yourself, demanding the truth, refusing to protect people from the consequences of their own choices, it takes courage. But that courage leads to freedom. And freedom, I have learned, is worth any amount of temporary pain. So if you are in a situation where someone has betrayed your trust, where you are being asked to keep quiet to protect them, ask yourself this: who benefits from your silence? Not you. Your silence only allows them to continue hurting you and potentially others. The truth might be painful in the moment, but it is the only path to real healing. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between protecting someone you cared about and telling the truth? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything and helps these stories reach people who need them most. Thank you for watching, and remember, you deserve relationships built on honesty and respect, nothing less. Take care of yourselves out there.